Hello and welcome to another Outlet Conversation. I'm Vince, and ladies, introduce yourselves. Shabuya, shabuya, roll
you got a
call.
whole dance. Okay,
Yeah.
hey family, it's Ashley here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got a little song going.
Hi, this is Ericka.
Yeah.
I like it.
No, we are going to talk about the state of the church. There has been a recent documentary that came out about a mega global ministry, and I mean, to me, the reporting was very
Thorough.
Yeah. And it really gave us an opportunity to look at what I call ministries that you would think are too big, in a sense, if I could say too big to fail. And it gave an inside look over a history that even predated the current setup of the church.
Yeah.
And, you know, from that, you know, we all in our group text thread were like, we need to have a conversation about like the state of the church, because the fallout I could only imagine. And so if you're watching at home or have watched recent documentaries of ministries we cannot name for legal reasons, again, anything said on these Outlet Conversations do not reflect the views or affiliations of the Outlet Community Church and its subsidiaries. Anyway, I mean, let us know kind of how you feel. Let's have an open dialogue, open conversation. I want to open the floor to you all to talk about where is the church going? Like from what we've seen, the fallout. Yeah, I mean, if we have just an episode to talk about like what is the state of the church, I guess we could say globally.
Yeah.
I could say this.
What can you say?
The biggest concern that I have is that, you know, what I've said even in previous things that I've done and we've released is I don't want people to see documentaries of different churches and point the finger and say, look at that church, look what they're doing, look what they're doing. My disclaimer is let it be a cautionary tale that without checks, balances, accountability. You can find yourself in places that you never would have expected. And I mean, Ash and I, we pastor a church, and we've got one of our Before Day One members right here. So this is a really good sign that we're still trekking. At the date of this, we're over 5 years in. So, yay.
5 years.
Well, I think, so I've been thinking about this question, and a lot of people my age, almost 40 this year.
What? Blake, don't cry.
83, baby. Don't go to church. They don't think it's necessary. They believe that my relationship with God is me and him, and I can do that at the house. And there's not a need for fellowship.
Right.
So there's a large part of me that thinks that people think it's outdated, and that concerns me, because I feel like anything that you believe in or are a part of, like you gotta practice it regularly. Like if you are into health and wellness, you can't say I care about my body, but I don't go to the gym.
You eat McDonald's every day.
Right. Or even just the fact of doing something physical every day, right? Whether you go to a gym, you work out at home, you walk, like whatever that is, right? So I feel like church is the one place that is supposed to heal, right? But has seemingly turned into more of a business. And people are okay, you know, church is wonderful, but it seems like the idea of growth means it takes away the purpose of church. And I think growth is great. We want to reach disciples, but is the need to reach more people, is the effect of that making church not a spiritual place, but a place of business instead of a place of worship?
These are great questions.
Now I will say, when I watched the particular documentary, I'm gonna be very honest, I'm gonna tell on myself, I was kind of like, okay, what they're about to say now about pastors, leaders, spiritually, but because that's our profession, right? Like not as profession, that's more so our calling. This is what we're called to. We're called to the fivefold ministry. And so I was like, okay, I kind of came with a bias about it when I watched it. I was like, okay, what they gonna say about me? But when I watched it, I was like, oh my, like there were so many layers. What I appreciated about it was it gave different perspectives. So you gave I can't talk. Perspectives of the leadership, then perspectives of parishioners, perspective of volunteers, which I think from different lenses, you're able to see different things. coming up in ministry, Vince and I always had this saying that don't judge it till you get to sit in that position. Because
like you can have a thought.
Yes,
right.
but don't judge it. It's almost like parenting too. Like if you've never been a parent, don't judge people's parenting skills until you become a parent, because it's different, right? You're sitting in the seat and you're like, okay, I'm seeing more things. I'm experiencing more things that I never would have experienced outside of this role. So in looking at that, I was like, man, okay, it was very sobering and it was very saddening. And to Ericka's point, I think my generation now is in that same boat because the trust of the people hasn't been stewarded properly from those in leadership.
Wow.
Yeah, it hasn't been, and we can look back on track records. We can look back in where your tithes and offerings were going. Now, this is not every church, but man, you have some people high rolling off of free will offering and sacrificial giving of people.
Wow, you all didn't leave any stone unturned just in the introduction. So there are two things that are going on. There's the idea that it's outdated, and then from you there's the idea or the fact that trust hasn't been stewarded well. So, because we don't have like 8 volumes, I don't think. We never know. We never know when these conversations get going. Let's probably frame our conversation around, if the church is outdated, how can we update it? And I guess we could end on, how do we best steward this currency of trust? And when it comes to the outdated aspect, I would dare to say the church is in need of an update of methodology.
They talked about that during the documentary of how the church is always behind.
Yeah.
So it made it seem like things were happening in real time, in real life, and then when the church, or this particular church, hopped on it, it was like, all right, y'all are hip. It's like, we talked about that about three years ago. So I always challenge, I don't challenge people, because I think that's why some people ain't in church either, right? Because you can't bop somebody into going to church and thinking,
absolutely not.
And understanding the necessity of it. I think more than anything, letting them see the fruits of your life, right? So
Ooh,
that part.
cute.
Yeah.
Like, I did not grow up in the church. We grew up as believers, but I didn't grow up in church. I had to make a conscious decision as an adult to say, I want my kids to grow up in church, so I guess I need to start going. Because ain't no sense dragging somebody with me, and we out here suffering together, right? And then in that, figuring out like where, the talents, treasures of how you give, because I think it's twofold, right? Understanding the need for church and figuring out what your purpose is in that church, because it's not I was a long time just went and got what I need. Look, skip praise and worship, I was like, what time is he gonna start talking?
The word happened.
What time the sermon start? That's what time. And then the parking lot was full. All right, I done gave my offering or whatever. Let me just get on out of here before the rush. So it was always like, let me hurry up. Let this be a very convenient experience for me. And then when I realized, okay, well, that's very selfish. Because church is the one place where people want stuff for free. You want everything for free. You want to be entertained. You want to be fed. Spiritually, you want all of these things for free, $99. The minute they ask for anything, it's like, oh, they just like the rest of them. So I'm like, this is the one place that you want everything.
We're not saying this, but this is wonderful.
Well, this is maturity, right? Because I ain't start out this way. Because I've been to the church where we had to sit there until they gave the building fund.
The benediction 5 times.
Right. The benediction, the building, that ain't no, what y'all doing to this building? How much money we give to this? The building still look the same to me. So the trust part, right?
Yeah.
If you ask me for money for the building, I need new floors or new toilets or something.
I see something.
Something is paved. I need to see my money. Yes. Not mine, but you get what I'm saying. I need to see what I'm giving. I need to see it work. I need to see some new light fixtures or something. But as I matured, I realized that this stuff doesn't happen just because it don't fall out the sky. The church don't just open the doors and everything just start working, right?
That's true.
People are behind here. So I had to figure out, I have gifts and talents. What is the best way to start that? And at first I thought it was being a usher, and that was not my ministry.
Uh-oh.
Sometimes you gotta do something to figure out what you not anointed at doing.
Well, me and my sister were told at the first church we came to in Atlanta, and they were like, "You two." She was one of the meanest ladies I ever met. You two. We need some ushers. Fine. I'll leave her unnamed. And we did it, and they were some of the meanest people ever.
Oh,
like,
no.
Wow.
Like, I'm talking about the people in the church.
Yeah.
Because people want to sit where they want to sit. You want to get here when you want to get here.
Don't you move their seats?
We holding seats, ma'am. We got 3. No, these 2 seats are taken. Ain't nobody here. They get here in the middle. So I was like, this is not where I'm supposed to be. And I'll figure that part out. But to go back, like, the whole outdated part, church is the biggest group. This is the biggest group that meets every week.
Yeah.
Consistently.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing with this time?
Yeah.
How are we being impactful with this group of people who religiously, no pun intended, come every week? And I think the church hasn't done a good job of stewarding it, mobilizing it. Like, we're what are we doing here every week?
The purpose, the point.
Yeah. I think it's a place where we can talk about all of the issues that are happening in the real world. The church, that's what the church is here for, to address those things.
Yes.
And most of the time, in my experience, churches shy away from those things because it's like, no, we here to sing and praise the Lord and give you a feel-good message or bop you, and then you gonna get up out of
Bop
here.
you know, bop you into salvation.
But I'm like, well, there's legit stuff happening. Why are we not talking about these things? Why are we not helping people navigate what that looks like? And I think the church can do a much better job of addressing that so people can understand it's a need. But you can't force anybody to feel like they need something.
That's real.
So true.
That's real.
So true.
I think that if we look at society, and that's kind of really the role that we have now with our churches, let's look at what our best practices post-pandemic, because everything was flipped, everything was turned over, and quite honestly, a lot of conferences and workshops that are being done, everybody's saying the same thing. We're all trying to figure it out. So as we're trying to figure it out, what I've noticed is a return really to the origins of how the church began. It wasn't that when Jesus died, he raised, he ascended to heaven, Holy Spirit came, then they built this big church in Jerusalem, got a nice LED sign, LED walls, and told everybody in Jerusalem to come join us on Sunday at this time. It was more of a lifestyle and integrating faith into lifestyle holistically. And I think for the church leadership specifically, you are actually terrified to let go of the reins and allow people to lead authentically, because that means that they won't lead perfectly.
Let's even take it deeper. Most leaders actually, you think about discipleship, you think about coming into community, that requires a level of vulnerability. Most leadership that I know, we rarely are they getting vulnerable. Rarely are they taking off masks, and so you're asking people to then do something that you're not necessarily doing.
This is really key. So if we're beginning to mobilize, we're beginning to be vulnerable, we're not waiting. I think the key now is let's not wait for people to come to us.
Yeah, let's go to them.
But in the words of Little Mermaid, we want to be,
which was, by the way, a fantastic movie. I am shameless plug. You need to go see it.
Where the people are.
Yes.
We need to be where the people are. And quite honestly, our generation that's not coming to church, they're still assembling and gathering. They're still doing.
And we're brunching. We are brunching.
They meeting.
Hunty.
That is
the Atlanta brunch scene.
Brunch crawl
is strong.
Listen, y'all be bar crawling. Well, anyway, no bop. I'm just mentioning. That was a teeny bop.
So
teeny bop.
Did you see that Kirk Franklin? I think his daughter graduated, and he was at a known lounge place in Atlanta. At whatever time where my people was assembling, and he sang his church songs, and then people had a beverage in one hand, and they were like melodies from heaven, but he was where the people are.
Yes.
Why not?
Yes.
And
word work no matter where you work it.
He got on that table and said,
your gift gonna be gifting no matter where you gift it.
And the people didn't say, oh, you can't do that in here. Those people had, like I said, whatever they had in their hand.
We want it. We know what work. We could be the furthest thing from the Word of God, the Bible. But when life hit, we're going to go back to what Grandma and Mama and them taught us. We're going to, listen, I know you might not heard me. We might have our little gold chain. I got my gold chain. my little gold chain, and we praying like, Lord, if you up there. We're going to go back to what we know. The fact is, to your point, E, what they have, the majority have been exposed to that has been under the guise of church, the network hasn't been working.
Yeah.
And people will go where they see results and they see life change. And I think that puts the onus now to steward trust that if I'm coming here and I'm giving resources, that you're vulnerable enough to show us where this is going, how this is going, and you're communicating every step of the way. If you remember, and I was having this conversation with in one of our business meetings this morning, we were talking about the level of transparency that outlet has as a staple. In fact, it's so transparent that when we were negotiating the deal that we closed on last year, there was, Ashley and Diana, who's our executive director, they were like, I wanted to tell the church the magnitude almost immediately. And they were like, whoa, hold on. There's certain details that you need to, keep private, keep wrapped up. But my press to them was, okay, if the deal doesn't go through, I would rather be on the side of, I told you all everything I'm doing during the week so that you can see that we're meeting on Sunday, but during the week, these are things I'm talking, this is the progress that we've made. And so we kind of, and this was like the first test for us I think what we're doing right now is the first, not first test, but like the biggest test of transparency, of vulnerability. We're taking a collective risk. But it showed, I think, now you can communicate as a person who has seen us from the infancy to where we are now. I guess I would ask, being a part of what we called our family meetings, where we were divulging like
pretty
details.
much everything.
And did we disclose the amount in those meetings?
Yeah.
We told,
I think we did.
we told
I think we did.
Y'all, it was a PowerPoint we saw.
It was a PowerPoint. We had a PowerPoint. We did.
So I think, like, this is our time to find out, like, what was that like for you to see behind the curtain at a place that you've been with Grassroots, and to see us, present to you all, like, what's next in the climate that we live in today?
I think it was a good way to set expectations. I think people like to be in the know. People want to feel like, if you would have came up and said, hey, guess what, y'all? We moving. Where we moving to?
It's real mysterious.
Right. Yeah. Guess what? We got a big blessing, and now we're moving. People would have been like, what? Where? Okay. And, and I feel like you fare better with people when you give them enough information. Hopefully they have, not going to say minimal questions. You're never going to avoid all the questions, but hey, this is where we are. This is what we're thinking about. This is what we're doing. What are your thoughts? I think people felt like I'm part of this process, right? And I appreciated it. I think there were a lot of people who appreciated it. Based on the questions, people felt trusted. They feel like they were along, versus knowing that you two are the leads and heads of the church, that you are considerate of the members as well. Because when we moved, it's not far, but it is a distance.
It was a jump.
Yeah. And people I think appreciated knowing, hey, it's from here to here. This is how many miles. This is how many minutes. We're trying to figure out how to get the people who can't make it here. Like, I think the considerations were helpful. So people felt like, we are doing this together. Like, I remember telling people, yeah, we moving. We moving up here. It's, and that felt good. We're moving into a home. And for us being mobile so long, I don't think, as a volunteer, I don't think people realize, like, all that goes into it. So
the preparation it takes,
all of that. So I felt like the consideration for the people who volunteer, the consideration for the members, like, I feel like y'all, and this wasn't just one meeting. There were multiple meetings as things progressed, so that way it wasn't a big surprise, and then it was more of a celebration than anything. So
I think for me, because we were going back and forth on how much should we share. And for me, I didn't want it to be a Joseph type thing where the Lord's given us something and we speak too soon on it. I'm like, okay, Lord, so tell us how to present this to where, we can let our people in, but not enough that we are putting ourselves in detriment of any kind, right? Because when you over anything, and there's a big change coming. Everybody's gonna have an opinion. Some people are gonna love it. Some people are gonna hate it. So we just really had to be in a place of prayer and peace. And I think we gave it a week amongst our meeting. We were like, okay, me, you, and Diana, we talked about it, and we said, let's pray about it and let's see. And I think we all came back and was like, yeah, let's go ahead and share everything.
And to your point, and just kind of the point about vulnerability. So our stance was, and my stance, just for our culture, is I would rather us fail transparently.
So true. So true.
As opposed to succeeding privately.
People don't like to fail transparently. Like,
it's
that's a hard thing for people.
Because we could have came back and said the deal fell through, y'all. Like, we didn't get this multi-million-dollar asset. You know, that would have been really hard.
So why do you want to fail transparently?
When you think about the context of church in America, you think about the context of people's experience in church, there are always, not always, because, generalizations aren't always right, but more times than not, there have always been another side to the story that people weren't privy to.
True.
And I have heard more times than not, a blessing and a weight kind of that I feel in leading our church is people saying that without your church, I don't know if I'd still be in church. Yeah. So I think about the trust, although is massive. Like if I said, we're going back to trees, for the most part, those who are really rocking with us would be like, all right, what tree are we going to?
No, I think all of us would have been like, we here, we at the tree.
But
we gonna pick a tree for y'all, we'll tell you. Because even during COVID, we still met when we did the small groups. And I remember at one point, we were on that call for hours for like the women and the men when we broke up. And just talking about life. And so I still felt church, even like being the church. Like that was, we had to live that thing out, for a few years. And I think, so initially, of course, I was making my breakfast and, doing all the other stuff. And then fixing my coffee, doing my hair. And I recognized the need for it because still you were still at home. Like I took for granted I lived with someone. Yeah. And she, I wasn't there by myself. There were a lot of people on that call who didn't. Like we were the only kind of interaction. And then you were scared to get out there. So like those hour or 2 hour calls after church, after service were so helpful. And it helped when I see these people in person, I'm like,
we're family.
Yeah.
I think that's the goal. So if we want to be family, if we want to be the church of the future and just continue to be the solution, we need to update our methods.
Yep.
We need to go where the people are. We need to steward trust well. We need to be willing to fail transparently because it's not about how we look. It's about, are you included in our decisions? And I think that although we can't avoid, disappointment, we can't avoid, sometimes I have to come before the church and say, hey, I messed up. Or more times than not, I'm saying, hey, God has been good, which he has this entire journey. I think if we can just do those things and remain accountable to each other, we remain accountable to the church. You all hold us accountable in what we do. I think that we can really do something special and provide help, hope, and healing to our world out here. But we're going to put a pause right here because this is a conversation that can go, like I said, it can go 8 volumes. But we wanted to give you some takeaways in light of the state of the church that's going on. So on behalf of all of us here at The Outlet, we'll see you all next time.
Adios. Love you guys.
I don't even know what I was going to say at the end of that. See y'all later.